Consider, for example, a case that reached the Supreme Court in 1993. Congress had passed a law imposing longer prison terms for those who use a firearm during and in relation to a drug trafficking crime. At issue was whether the tougher sentence should apply to a man who swapped his automatic rifle for cocaine. 6 justices on the court said the law applied because trading the weapon constituted a use of the weapon during a crime. 3 justices, led by Scalia, said the law should not apply, arguing that to use an instrument means to use it for its intended purpose. Scalia wrote, "When someone asks, 'Do you use a cane?' he is not inquiring whether you have your grandfather's silver-handled walking stick on display in the hall. He wants to know whether you walk with a cane." In cases like this, the debate among the justices focuses on figuring out what the words truly mean. Policy objectives do not seem to be in play. There are some cases, however, in which the court seems to torture or ignore altogether the meaning of words in order to achieve a result it thinks that Congress likely intended, or that reflects, in the view of a majority of justices, good public policy. In all cases of statutory interpretation, how should the court figure out what the law is? During his long career, Justice Scalia helped to define, promote, and implement a coherent methodology for answering this question. Known as textualism, Scalia's methodology first directs judges to focus on the words of a statute or regulation. Unlike some conservative judges, Scalia argued that texts should not be construed strictly, nor should they be construed liberally. Rather, Scalia said, words should be interpreted reasonably. That is, words should be accorded the ordinary meaning that would have made sense to the legislature that passed the law and to the people who would have been subjected to it. At the same time, the court should ensure the meaning makes sense within the context of the law or code of which it is a part. Where the meaning of a statute was not immediately clear, Scalia relied on certain tools to find the right meaning. He frequently consulted dictionaries from the period in which the law was passed. He would look to see if words were used elsewhere in the statute, and, if they were, would give them the same meaning. Looking for original meaning, also known as originalism, is not the same as looking at the legislature's intent, as evidenced by a statute's legislative history. Scalia famously objected to reliance on legislative intent for a couple of reasons. First, it is not usually ascertainable. Members of Congress usually have many different reasons, or no reason at all, for voting for a bill, and thus there is no singular intent that can be attributed to the body passing the law. Second, even if intent can somehow be determined, it is an illegitimate source of meaning. Scalia wrote, "We are governed by laws, not the intention of legislators." He railed against the practice of using legislative history, the statements on the floor of the House or Senate by the bill's sponsors, or committee reports drafted by staff, for example, to interpret a law's text. These statements and reports were not ratified by Congress and therefore do not have the effect of law. In most cases, they reflect only the intent of the person making the statement or writing the report. In one classic concurring opinion, Scalia explained the practical reason for his avoidance of legislative history. As today's opinion shows, the court's disposition is required by the text of the statute. That being so, it is not only, as I think, improper, but also quite unnecessary to seek repeated support in the words of a Senate committee report, which, as far as we know, not even the full committee, much less the full Senate, much less the House, and much less the President who signed the bill, agreed with. Because the statute, the only sure expression of the will of Congress, says what the court says it says, I join in the judgment. Finally, Scalia believed that judges should allow even stupid laws to stand. I do not think the avoidance of unhappy consequences is adequate basis for interpreting a text, he wrote in one decision. Unless confusion and uncertainty are traceable to scrivener's error, court should give the law the meaning of its words. If that meaning is nonsensical and not what Congress intended, Congress can go back and change it.